Do you have the urge to go after a goal, but deep down inside, you wonder whether or not you can really achieve that goal? It feels a little bit out of reach. Or do you have a goal that you know with the right amount of work you can achieve, but honestly, the way that you know to go after that goal, the way that you've been told that you have to go after that goal is just not appealing. So it gives you a little bit of pause about whether or not you should really even pursue it. If you have a goal that you either have just a tiny urge to go after or a all-out longing to go after, but you want to achieve it in a way that is slightly non-traditional, then you're in luck. This video is for you. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 lessons that I either learned or relearned as I pursue my goal of running 1 mile in 8 minutes or less. Hi, my name is Concita Thomas. I'm a food and fitness strategist, and I help women over 40 lose 30 plus pounds without diets and without excessive exercise. So basically, I help women achieve a very common goal, losing the weight and keeping it off, in a very uncommon way. No diets, no excessive exercise. And if you haven't guessed, I was gonna say that's where I got my start in figuring out how to get what I want in a way that's slightly untraditional, but that's not true. If I really think about it, I've been that way, who knows, maybe since birth. And so on my journey of just living my life and just working towards creating this expansive life that I desire for myself and for my family, one of the first goals in that regard was losing the weight, getting it to come off and getting it to stay off. Because if you know my story, you know that I had way too much practice at getting weight off, meaning I could get it off, but I couldn't keep it off, or even when I managed to keep it off for a substantial amount of time, I was not happy with what I had to do to get it to stay off, and I would eventually fold and it would come back. So once I got that figured out and cracked the code on that, it was really like a nod to me, again, as I mentioned, not the first one ever in life, but a nod that you really can achieve the things that you want, and that, you know what, systems and processes are important and should be respected. You know, in my past life, I worked as an engineer. I believe in systems and processes and standards. However, they also deserve to be questioned, because the systems, what's standard and what's processed today didn't even exist yesterday until someone questioned the systems and standards of yesterday to develop what we have today. So that's what I'm setting out to do with this whole goal of running a mile in 8 minutes or less. And spoiler alert, in case you haven't caught on yet, not following a traditional running plan at all. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that a real running coach, an official running coach, would cry if they looked at the plan that I've been following in order to get this done. But it's been working. When I started this journey, I was running a mile, and I almost snickered to say the word running because it was an 11 minutes and 59 seconds. And no shade to anyone who is running at that pace or running slower than that, but your girl used to run track. So for me, that's quite slow. And I've gone from doing that to 8 minutes and 42 seconds, just 42 seconds shy of my goal with what is not at all a traditional running plan. I run 2 days a week, a total of 30 minutes a week. Not per session, a total. I do 1 interval training run and 1 trial run. That has been my plan for the last several months, and that has produced the results that I mentioned. And so as I'm doing this and as I'm on this journey and I'm paying attention to the results that I'm getting, how I feel along the journey, what is coming up on the journey, I'm like, these are some really good lessons, and I want to document them for myself, and I also want to share them with those connected to me. So let's jump into those lessons. The first lesson is that a good enough plan beats consistency. With a good enough plan beats procrastination while looking for a perfect plan. So after I decided that I was going to upgrade my plan, more on that later, and this has just happened, I started looking into running plans, and I was reminded that there is no shortage of running plans on the internet, on YouTube. There's no shortage of running programs that I could purchase. And here in the DFW Metroplex, there is no shortage of running groups or running coaches that I could pay to help me get that mile time that I desire. However, you know what? It does take time, especially if you have my personality. I'm very much analytical and I like to, check things out. I could have spent months looking for the perfect plan that was guaranteed to help me hit my goal. And at the end of those months, all I would have had in my hand was a plan that claimed to be perfect and no progress. However, instead I got busy being consistent on a good enough plan, and I've been able to reap some really great results. And I'm sure I don't have to connect the dots for you to understand how that carries over to your weight loss goal or any other goal that you're working on in life. Lesson number 2 is that consistency on a good enough plan beats inconsistency on a perfect plan. Part of the reason why I did not seek out a plan in the first place is because I knew from being a coach and just from living life that the thing that was going to make the most difference, and assuming, again, I said a good enough plan, not a shoddy plan, not a completely incorrect plan, but I had the knowledge and the skill to create a good enough plan. And so I knew that as long as I had a good enough plan, my consistency was really going to be the difference maker, especially in the beginning. Listen, a perfect plan does you no good if it's in your hand, if it's in your laptop, and you're not taking action on it, or you're only taking action on it every now and then. And I knew that what is typical of a traditional running plan was not something that I was willing to be consistent with for various reasons. But because it is relevant to you, I will share one of those reasons is because as a woman over 40, you hear me talk about this all the time, how you exercise and how you recover is really important in terms of your results, because it also is going to drive what your experience with your hunger and your cravings is like. So I knew, based on my current metabolic state, my current sleep habits, my current lifestyle, that running 4 or 5 times a week was going to be metabolic havoc, and it was going to threaten some of the other goals that I have. So that's the second lesson. Consistency with a good enough plan beats inconsistency with the perfect plan. And I've got more where that comes from, but before I do, go ahead, just let me know, what lessons have you learned as you've been working towards either your weight loss goals or other goals that you have for yourself this year. I'd really be interested to know. So go ahead and send me a comment and let me know. The third lesson that I've learned on this journey is that progress is not linear, even when practice is. So you heard me in the first 2 points talk over and over about consistency and how important that is. However, many times when we finally crack the code and we finally get consistent, we mistakenly believe that our results should also be consistent. And our practice is linear. Week in and week out, I'm doing this. So our results should be linear also. Week in and week out, I should be seeing this type of results. And that simply is not how it just isn't how, I don't think that's how anything works. I'm struggling to come up with an example of something that works that way. Most things, and with most goals that you'll work to attain, consistency compounds, and then the compounding shows up as results. And it won't be in linear and predictable cycles either. I know, it's so frustrating. Some weeks I would do my trial run and run the exact same time as last week. Some weeks I would cut my time by 2 seconds, 1 second. Some weeks I would get on the treadmill and after having done nothing differently that week, run my trial run and shave 6, 8, 9, 13 seconds off of my time, seemingly in 1 week. But the truth of the matter is that wasn't really my 1 week progress. That was the culmination of the weeks of consistent progress that eventually led to what seemed like just this uncommon result. And here's the thing. It's important to understand this because if I was moved by my results or lack thereof each week, and therefore made adjustments to, meaning not being consistent, not working as hard, cutting my training sessions short each week based on my goal, based on the outcome, then my work would not have had the opportunity to compound to get me 3 minutes and 51 seconds faster, only running 30 minutes a week for several months. It just wouldn't have happened. So it's really important to know that, you know what, progress is not linear, even when my practice is, and especially if my practice is not, just got to give a nod to that inconsistency. So, just going to put that out there. The fourth lesson I learned, and this one will be one that is frustrating potentially to experience, is that it is only through consistent practice that other necessary skills will be revealed. So as you are practicing, you're showing up, you're doing the work, you will become aware over time of other skills that you'll need to at least become proficient in, or maybe even master, in order to continue to progress and to reach your goal. So one thing that I'll give you two skills that revealed themselves in this process for me that I now have to go back and acquire are the skills of mindfulness, being able to direct my thoughts. I thought I was pretty good at that, but it's a whole different thing to do that while running fast, while getting out of breath, while your legs hurt. It's a different circumstance under which I need to practice that skill, and practicing doing these training runs, going after this goal, revealed that my mindfulness needs sharpening, maybe in general, but for sure in this specific circumstance. The second skill that revealed itself is that I need to get way better at controlling my breathing and thereby controlling my heart rate when I am doing hard things. So it's crazy because I thought I was good at this because I've done it before. However, this is a new level, and the skill, the level of proficiency that I have with that skill is not enough for this new level of performance that I'm pushing myself to. So, I'll feel myself get out of breath. I'll feel my lungs start to burn, and I'm like, okay, control your breath, Concita. I know that that's what I'm supposed to do. And I'll try, make attempts at, slowing down my breath and getting my heart rate under control. But 2, 3, 5 breaths in, when it's still not happening, it's like I surrender. And then it all falls apart. And I'm running like this. I'm no longer upright and relaxed like you're supposed to be. I finished the training runs, but it gets ugly. And I know, just from the practice that I've been doing, that in order to get to my goal, that I'm gonna need to master, or at least become more proficient at those skills in order to make that happen. And this is where I've done it, and I've seen clients do it. This is where people tend to get upset. They tend to throw a tantrum. This is more than I bargained for. It shouldn't take all of this. I shaved 3 minutes and 51 seconds off my mile without having to run up to worry about this. Obviously, my mindfulness and my breath control is okay. I got 3 minutes and 51 seconds off. We have a choice. We could go down that path mentally, but it really doesn't serve us. We could do that, and we could just try and power through without addressing the needed skills that have revealed themselves. And it may work. It's going to be more painful to do it that way. But in most cases that I've witnessed, it did not work. Okay? Or we can embrace the new work that we weren't even aware we'd have to do, and we can do that work and continue to progress toward our goal and eventually get there. And I say eventually because guess what? Spending the time to master those new skills likely means that it's going to take longer to get to the goal. But if you really want the goal and you want it in a way that feels good, then it makes sense to just do the work. The fifth and final lesson that I've learned is that each level needs to be mastered, not skipped, and not sped past. And I'll give you an example from my training to really drive this point home. In order to run an 8-minute mile, I need to run an average of a 7.5 mile per hour speed for 8 minutes. I can run a little bit slower, I can run a little bit faster, but over time, I need to average that. That's the only way I'll get an 8-minute mile. Yeah, when I started training, my interval run days included speeds of 5.0, 6.0, and 7.0. Right now, my new training plan that I literally have gotten one training running on this new plan is quarter mile repeaters at the goal pace. Now, one could argue that that is a better practice in order to achieve the goal. And one could argue, well, Concita, that's probably what you should have been working towards in the beginning, because you probably would have cut the time off and maybe even achieved your goal a lot faster. However, if that is the suggestion, what is missed is that mastering each level builds capacity for the next level. There was a reason why I needed to run 5.0, 6.0, 7.0. And with 5.0 being my longer interval and 7.0 being my sprint at the time, right? It's because I did not have the current physical capacity to run 7.5 mile per hour quarter mile repeaters for 4 to 6 times. The capacity wasn't there. And so oftentimes we have awareness of a better practice. We have awareness of a different level, and we're like, we don't want to dig in and master the level we're on, because we're like, this isn't getting me where I need to go. I need to be over there. However, what I submit is, even if you have awareness of what's over there, but you find yourself over here, the reason is because this is actually where you belong. Like, there is capacity that needs to be built here. There is capacity that you do not have, that even though you know about that level over there, you do not have the capacity to sustain yourself at that level over there. So rather than despising being here, rather than being here half-heartedly while looking over there, because thinking, I know about calorie counting and carb cycling, and I'm over here just drinking water and trying to get protein. Yes, you are. Because if you had capacity for that over there, then the truth wouldn't be that you don't have capacity, or you don't have the current practice of drinking water, eating protein, eating vegetables. It's just the truth. And it can be discouraging when you have knowledge of something that's more elevated than where you actually are in real life. However, when you dig in and when you accept the level you're on and work that level and work to master it, you will build capacity to go over there. Fun fact, when I finally let go of that training program, I was running, instead of 5, 6, and 7.0, my shortest interval was at my longest interval, my slowest interval was at 7.5, my medium was at 8.5, and my sprint was at max treadmill speed. So what happened? By embracing my real level, I built capacity for the level where I am now, which is going to get me to my goal. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notifications. What else do I want you to do? That's it. Oh, and if you really enjoyed this and you're like, I can't wait till the next video, follow me over on Instagram. There's more of this in my stories. Visit my podcast, give that a listen. There's over 100 episodes of my other insight and musings that you can enjoy while you're waiting for the next video. Until next time, stay fierce.